Hello, this is Sherry Truhlar with Red Apple Auctions. Today I want to talk to you about 3 methods of getting items for your benefit auction. Now the first method is the one that I bet you're most familiar with, and that is when you just ask. You're asking friends, family, companies to make donations of products, of services, and then you are in turn going to sell that in your charity auction. Whatever you sell it for is what your nonprofit gets to keep. So if you sell the donation, the basket for $500, your nonprofit gets to keep all of that money. The advantages of this approach is that you are getting to keep 100% of the proceeds of what you sell. The disadvantage is that it is time consuming. More on that when we get to our third point. And then secondly, it may be that you've got items, but they're not the right items for your crowd. That your crowd is actually willing to spend more on really good items, but you just don't have the connections within your procurement team to procure those hot items, so consequently you're not making as much money as you could. You need to up-level your auction, and you do that with the next 2 ways to get items. Number 2 is really through a consignment company. Consignment companies usually specialize. They might provide, we'll say, sports memorabilia, Hollywood memorabilia, incredible trips, one-of-a-kind experiences, like maybe 2 tickets to the Super Bowl or to a really hot concert that no one else can get into. They might provide furs, jewelry, art. Those are all pretty common areas of specialization for consignment companies. The way that their business plan usually works is that you only pay for what you sell. So let's say that you request 10 items. 5 of them sell at your gala, but 5 don't. You only need to pay the consignment house for the 5 that sold. And the consignor is being paid because every time they send you an item, there's a base price that must be met. So if there is a signed baseball, for instance, and they'll value that at $500, if it sells for $900 in your auction, your nonprofit gets to keep the $400 that it sold for above the $500 base price. So $500 goes to the consignor, $400 is kept by the nonprofit. The advantage of using a consignment house is that it is easy, right? I mean, you can call up the consignor, you can check off a list of what it is that you want to have your auction full of, but there are some disadvantages too. The disadvantage is that you are, number 1, there's an opportunity cost. Even though an item is free for all intents and purposes, you don't have to pay until it sells, you are taking up shelf space. You are marketing that particular item. If you market an item, especially if it doesn't sell, that's space on your silent auction, and that's space on your website, email blasts that you could have devoted to an item where you would have kept 100% of the proceeds. So there is an opportunity cost that you must weigh with a consigned item. The other disadvantage, and this will just depend on your group and what you decide to do, but some guests might feel like they would have preferred to give you all of the money instead of a consignor. I know I've talked with some groups or some bidders who've purchased, say, that $900 baseball, but then they found out $500 was going to the consignor, and they said, you know, I was really just hoping to make a $900 contribution to the nonprofit. It was less about the baseball. Had I known that the baseball was $500, I would have just gone ahead and written a check to $900 to the nonprofit. You have to think about your crowd, because remember, there is the advantage of consignor is that it can up-level your event, so you're getting nicer items, but there's this cost-benefit analysis. The third way that you can get items for your auction is through a database. There are companies who offer a database of people who have given to other auctions. They're people who would be likely to target. One of the challenges that you will have, and this refers back to my earlier statement, it's time-consuming to do research to get the right person at a company to whom you should ask, right? You have to call a company, you have to ask which department deals with donations, you have to find that person. Let's say that they actually give you a donation that year. You might write back to them the following year, but the person's changed jobs. They're no longer there. Now you have to make another phone call, get the new name, who is this person? You're always going to have much more success if your letter is personalized. You don't want to put a dear sir, dear madam, to whom it may concern. You really want personalization, and that takes time. So the database company's job is to make sure that that procurement database is up to date. You don't have to worry about it. So you're paying for access to the database. You're giving the database company a letter, That letter is going out to 1,000 people in that database, and you sit back and wait for the donations to come in. The great thing about this is it can be catered to your crowd. So if you've got a golf crowd, you can say that you want your letters to go to golf pros and golf manufacturers and people in the golf world, golf courses, and then you'll get more golf related merchandise back, which is great for you because it can be customized. And it's just easier, right? You're making one letter, making it a really strong letter, but then it's up to the database company to get the letters out there and maintain the database and do all of the work. The disadvantage is that yes, there is a cost, but with most things in life, you're going to have to make an investment to get a gain in the end. So it's one of those things that you'll have to consider whether or not you have the cash to outlay or if you want to rely on your personal connections. If you've got really strong personal connections, probably don't need this service at all. So if you want to learn more about this database, I am offering a free class, a free call. It's taking place on Thursday, October the 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can learn all about this database and how to use it. This is part of my ongoing technology teleseries, which you can register for free at redappleauctions.com/tech teleseries, T-E-C-H teleseries. We're in week 3 of 6 free calls all around your benefit auction. Hey, I'm Sherry Truhlar with Red Apple Auctions. I appreciate you stopping by and watching the video. Good luck to you in your benefit auction.